اليوم فاتح على حسابه حسب الله.
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Linda Tamim, and these are today's top stories. Foreign Minister Gibran Bassil is in Cairo to attend an Arab foreign ministers meeting at the height of a Saudi-Lebanese diplomatic row. Saudi Arabia and its allies launched the final stage of Northern Thunder, the region's biggest ever military exercises. And former Minister Michel Smeha accuses the Internal Security Forces Information Branch of setting a trap to get him arrested. Foreign Affairs Minister Gibran Bassil has arrived in Cairo to attend an Arab foreign ministers meeting at the height of a Saudi-Lebanese diplomatic row. The two-day conference is set to appoint an Arab League chief to succeed Nabil al-Arabi, who has been in office since 2011. Bassil has been criticized by the pro-Saudi March 14 bloc for abstaining from voting on a statement issued at an Arab foreign ministers summit in January over the classification of Hezbollah as a terrorist group. Later that month, Bassil made a decision not to endorse a joint statement at the Organization of Islamic Cooperation in Jeddah, accusing Iran of backing terrorism. The March 14 coalition blames Bassil for igniting the recent diplomatic rift between Saudi Arabia and Lebanon, which led to the latter's decision last month to suspend 8 packages to the army and the police. Riyadh halted $4 billion in aid in Saudi military aid, saying that some Lebanese officials were not acting in a brotherly manner. Former Minister Michel Smeha, who was convicted of terror charges last year, has accused the Internal Security Forces Information Branch of setting a trap to get him arrested. During a hearing at the military tribunal, Smeha said the information branch threatened his girls when they raided his home on August 9th of 2012, and there were foreign officers with them who had arrived in Lebanon from Jordan a day earlier. He added that an envelope given to him by Milad Kfouri, a Lebanese undercover police agent, was given to Kfouri by the intelligence officers. He defended himself by saying that he was foolish and fell into the trap set up for him. Last month, during his first session before the military tribunal after being released on bail in January, Smeha maintained that he had fallen victim to entrapment by Kfouri, saying he was being used as a bait to target Syria through explosives. Military investigative judge Fadi Sawan has charged 3 Syrians for belonging to ISIS with the intention of conducting terror activities in the northeastern border town of Arsal. The 3 suspects were also charged with stealing weapons and military equipment. One of the men is in custody of authorities, while an arrest warrant has been issued against the other 2 suspects, who are also referred to the military tribunal. Residents in the northern port city of Tripoli have rallied to protest against an underground parking lot in the city's El Tal Square, vowing not to allow the state to distort the city's historical image. Speeches during the rally emphasized that the city is in dire need of development projects rather than a parking lot that would paralyze it for 3 years. Protesters accused the city's prominent figures of pressuring the municipal council to change its decision regarding the project. Originally, the municipal council rejected the project but approved it days later. Syria's main domestic opposition body has called for a widespread boycott of parliamentary elections next month, accusing the government of using the vote to gain leverage in peace talks. The National Coordinating Committee for Democratic Change, which is tolerated by the regime in Damascus, said it had decided to boycott the April 13 parliamentary polls. In a statement posted on Facebook, the group said group members will neither run for office nor cast their ballots, as they called on other opposition forces and civil society to join the boycott. The group accused the government of seeking to improve the conditions of UN-mediated indirect talks in Geneva between the regime and opposition. UN peace envoy Staffan de Mistura says the latest round of negotiations aimed at ending Syria's war are to begin on Monday. And coming up next, NCLW and the European Union launch a media campaign targeting women in Lebanon on the occasion of International Women's Day. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Warplanes roared overhead, tanks rumbled across the desert, and smoke filled the sky during the final stage of what Saudi Arabia has called its biggest ever military exercises. About 20 nations from the Middle East, Africa, and Asia are taking part in the last day of the so-called Northern Thunder maneuvers in the desert north of the kingdom, which began 12 days ago. Regional leaders, including Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Sudan's Omar al-Bashir, and Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, reportedly joined Saudi Arabia's King Salman to attend the conclusion. Taking place near Hafr al-Batin city in northeastern Saudi Arabia, the maneuvers are the most important and the largest in the region's history, according to Saudi authorities. Northern Thunder is taking place as tensions escalated between Saudi Arabia and its regional rival Iran, who back opposing sides in Syria and Yemen. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali al-Khamenei said Iran's economy has not yet benefited from the Western delegations visiting Iran, as they had failed to deliver their promises. In a meeting with members of the Assembly of Experts, Khamenei said he was expecting to see some real improvements. On another note, the White House said it was aware of Iran's ballistic missile tests. White House spokesman Josh Earnest said it would not be a surprise if there were additional missile launches over the next several days, and the U.S. will determine an appropriate response to the test.
We are pleased that we've been able to successfully implement that diplomatic agreement to prevent them from obtaining a nuclear weapon. That makes our country and the region safer. But we will continue to redouble our efforts with our allies and partners in the region to try to limit Iran's ability to continue to develop their missile program outside of international conventions. And there is more that we can do to enforce sanctions that are in place. There are also a set of restrictions about what kind of equipment and materials can be shipped to Iran. And there's more that we can do to work with our partners to interdict those kinds of shipments that may include some of those illicit products.
Austria's interior minister says the Balkan refugee route will remain closed permanently and that refugees should not be given false hope for passage. The UN human rights chief also voiced concern over a draft deal between the EU and Ankara that could see illegal collective expulsions of migrants from Greece to Turkey. Zaid Ra'ad al-Hussein told the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva that he planned to discuss his concerns during a visit to Brussels early next week ahead of the EU summit on March 17th and 18th, where the controversial deal is expected to be finalized. Under the plan, the EU would meanwhile resettle one Syrian refugee from camps in Turkey in exchange for every Syrian that Turkey takes from Greece, in a bid to reduce the incentive for people to board boats for Europe. The National Commission for Lebanese Women and the delegation of the European Union to Lebanon have launched a media campaign targeting women on the occasion of International Women's Day. The campaign, entitled Women in Municipal Elections, was prepared in cooperation with the Ministry of Interior and Lebanese municipalities. It highlights the added value of women's role in decision-making and promotes women's participation in municipal elections as candidates and voters. The campaign launch was followed by a discussion panel involving EU Ambassador to Lebanon, Ms. Christina Lassen, amongst other prominent figures. The event was attended by President of the Beirut Municipality, Mr. Bilal Hamad, NCLW Secretary General Mr. Fadi Karam, and NCLW Executive Board Member Mrs. Afif Al-Sayed. Representatives of civil society organizations, state institutions, universities, and the media were also present. My first question to you is, how important is a woman's role in local governance?
I think women's role in any kind of governance, whether it's at local level or at national level, is extremely important. But obviously it's a very good place for women to start. Many women are more concerned maybe about local issues, and it's a good way, sort of venue to get into national politics. But in general, it's extremely important because we have 50% of society here, and if we miss out 50% of society from the political decisions that are to be made, we're not getting all the input and experiences to societies that we need. So it's a loss for all of us, women and men, if women are not present there.
Well, the women have played a very important role in municipal elections in the past, at the level of the party and in terms of voters. Unfortunately, there hasn't been as many candidates for these local elections, and as we know today, there is about 6% of women who have been elected. in the 2010 elections. So we hope that in the upcoming elections in May 2016, many more will be willing and interested in being candidates to these elections. Well, first, women can bring a perspective that currently doesn't exist to these elections. Women represent more than 50% of the society and have to have a place at the table. But women also have proven in a number of places that they are able to govern sometimes better than men. And this is a very important point. And men often have more trust in women's ability to govern in a way that's more transparent, more inclusive, in part because they have suffered discrimination or they have suffered from ways of government that have not been inclusive.
What are the challenges that women face throughout their political participation?
I think, being a woman myself, that women face a lot of challenges in all different careers, and of course in politics it's even a more tough business, and you need to be up against a lot of stereotypes about what a woman should do. Well, I think everybody has tried that, who tried to do either a career either in business or politics or whatever it is, that you are very often up against some opinions about how a woman should behave and what a woman should be doing, and that maybe sometimes women have to work even harder to prove themselves. So I think in politics this might be even more of a challenge. I think in politics and in media there's sometimes a tendency for women to focus even more on looks and how they dress, all of these things that we don't think about when we're talking about male candidates.
I mean, it's sad to say, but patriarchy is a cultural phenomenon in large part, but it also is part of a network of interests that has been woven over time. And for women to find their place in the political arena, women will have to work hard with men and with women in order to guarantee more openness and more space for themselves, be it in terms of representation, but also in terms of opening doors and being able to build the networks and the fundraising bases that are needed in democratic election in order to be represented and be elected ultimately.
Today we have launched this big campaign that is a media campaign related to women in municipality. This campaign has been launched in cooperation with the EU because there is a project funded by the EU that is gender equality and women empowerment in Lebanon. The aim of this campaign is truly to encourage young women such as me and you to go and run for municipalities, and not just to be like women in the social part of the municipality, but to work as a strategic, to have a leading role in the municipality first, and to have a strategic decision in the municipality. This is our first aim. The second aim is to encourage citizens and constituents in Lebanon to vote for women, for them to be able to see the capacities and the skills of women. They are able, such as men, to do marvelous things.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. Foreign Affairs Minister Gibran Bassil is in Cairo to attend an Arab foreign ministers meeting at the height of the Saudi-Lebanese diplomatic row. Saudi Arabia and its allies launched the final stage of Northern Thunder, the region's biggest ever military exercises. And former Information Minister Michel Smeha accuses the Internal Security Forces Information Branch of setting a trap to get him arrested. Those are your headlines for today. I'm Linda Tamim, wishing you all a very nice evening.
واليوم فتح على حسابه.